Dr. Marcus Chen had always believed that his greatest discovery would come from years of careful research and planning. He never imagined it would happen because of a power outage and a cup of spilled coffee. The xenobiology lab at Luna Station 3 hummed with quiet efficiency as Marcus worked late into the artificial night cycle. The specimen before him had arrived 6 months ago aboard a damaged alien vessel that drifted into Earth's solar system. The ship's crew was long dead, but this single being had been found in some kind of stasis pod, perfectly preserved but showing no signs of life. Every test they had run came back negative. No brain activity, no cellular regeneration, no response to any stimuli. The being appeared humanoid but stood nearly 7 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under certain lights. Her features were delicate yet otherworldly, with large eyes that remained closed and silver hair that felt more like fine metal threads. Marcus had volunteered for the night shift because he felt a strange connection to the sleeping figure. While his colleagues saw only a fascinating corpse, he sensed something more. Perhaps it was wishful thinking, but he swore he could feel a presence waiting just beneath the surface. The lab's main power grid flickered as Marcus reached for his coffee. The station's aging infrastructure had been acting up lately, and the backup generators kicked in with their usual dramatic surge. The electromagnetic pulse from the power switch always played havoc with sensitive equipment. Marcus cursed as hot coffee splashed across his hand and onto the containment field generator. Sparks flew as the liquid hit the exposed circuits, and the humming field that surrounded the alien's body suddenly intensified to a brilliant white glow. No, no, no! Marcus grabbed for the emergency shutdown, but the controls were dead. The field pulsed and crackled, sending waves of energy through the specimen chamber. Warning alarms began to wail throughout the lab section. Then, as suddenly as it had started, everything went quiet. The field collapsed, leaving only the soft glow of emergency lighting. Marcus stared at the motionless figure, his heart pounding as he waited for security to arrive. That's when she opened her eyes. They were the color of deep space, dark blue with flecks of silver that seemed to move like distant stars. She sat up slowly, her movements fluid and graceful despite having been motionless for months. Her gaze found Marcus immediately, and he felt a strange warmth spread through his mind. "Hello," she said, her voice carrying an odd harmonic quality that seemed to resonate in his bones. "You are the one who woke me." Marcus stumbled backward, his scientific training warring with pure amazement. "You can speak English? How is that possible?" She tilted her head, studying him with those incredible eyes. "I am learning from you, even now. Your language, your thoughts, your memories. The awakening process has created a bridge between our minds." "A bridge?" Marcus felt a tingling sensation at the base of his skull, as if something was gently probing the edges of his consciousness. It should have been terrifying, but instead it felt warm and familiar. "Yes. The energy surge that revived me also forged a neural connection. I can sense your emotions, your intentions. You are curious but not afraid. That is good." She stood with fluid grace, and Marcus was struck by how tall and elegant she appeared. "I am Zara of the Veltar." "And you are Marcus Chen, xenobiologist and inadvertent savior." Marcus blinked in surprise. He hadn't told her his name. "You really can read my thoughts?" "Not read, exactly. It is more like hearing echoes. Your surface thoughts, your feelings, they whisper to me through our bond." Zara stepped closer, and Marcus noticed that her skin seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. "But I sense something more. This connection is not temporary as it should be. Something has changed." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, the lab doors burst open. Security guards rushed in with weapons drawn, followed closely by Dr. Sarah Winters, the station's chief researcher. Her eyes widened as she saw the alien standing freely next to Marcus. "Step away from the specimen, Dr. Chen," Sarah ordered, her voice tight with alarm. "She's not a specimen," Marcus said, surprised by the protective instinct that flared within him. "Her name is Zara, and she's very much alive. That thing could be dangerous. We don't know what it's capable of." Marcus felt a flash of anger at hearing Zara referred to as it, and he was startled when Zara placed a gentle hand on his arm. Through their connection, he sensed her calm acceptance of the human's fear.
I understand their concern, Zara said, addressing the room.
My people have encountered many species throughout the galaxy, and first contact is always difficult.
I mean no harm to you or your station.
Sarah lowered her weapon slightly but kept it ready.
What are you? Where do you come from?
I am a scholar of the Veltar Collective, sent to study the younger species of this galaxy. My ship suffered catastrophic damage when we encountered an unknown energy phenomenon.
My crew.
Zara's voice carried a note of sadness that Marcus felt echo in his own chest.
They did not survive the emergency stasis procedure.
We found your ship drifting in the outer system, Marcus said softly.
I'm sorry about your crew.
Zara's hand tightened slightly on his arm, and he felt a wave of gratitude flow through their connection.
Thank you, Marcus. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten.
Dr. Winters holstered her weapon but kept her distance. We'll need to run extensive tests, both on you and Dr. Chen.
This neural connection you're describing could pose serious risks. I understand your caution, Zara replied.
But you should know that our bond is already deeper than it should be. The energy surge that awakened me has created something unprecedented.
Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean? Zara turned to face him fully, her star-like eyes reflecting genuine concern.
In normal circumstances, a Veltar neural bridge lasts only hours or days before naturally dissolving.
But, this connection we share, it is permanent. Our minds are now linked for life. The lab fell silent except for the hum of machinery.
Marcus stared at Zara, trying to process what she had just told him.
A permanent mental connection to an alien being.
It should have terrified him, but all he felt was a strange sense of completeness, as if something that had always been missing was finally in place. What does that mean for us? He asked quietly.
I do not know, Zara admitted.
This is new territory for both our species.
But I can sense that you are not distressed by this news. Why?
Marcus considered the question carefully.
Ever since his wife had died 3 years ago in a transport accident, he had felt isolated and alone.
His work had become his only companion, and he had begun to wonder if he would ever feel truly connected to another being again. Maybe because I've been alone for a long time, he said finally.
And this connection, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels like coming home. Zara smiled, the first truly human expression he had seen from her.
Through their bond, he felt her relief and something else, a matching loneliness that had been with her for centuries. The Veltar live very long lives, she explained. I have been alone among the stars for over 200 of your years, studying species after species but never truly connecting with any of them. This bond we share may be unprecedented, but it is not unwelcome. Dr. Winters stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution.
This is incredible. A stable psychic link between two different species. Do you have any idea how this could advance our understanding of consciousness and neuroscience?
There will be time for study later, Zara said.
Right now, Marcus needs rest.
The formation of our bond has been draining for both of us, but humans are not used to psychic connections. He requires sleep to process the changes.
As if summoned by her words, exhaustion hit Marcus like a wave.
He swayed on his feet, and Zara steadied him with surprising strength.
I'm fine, he protested weakly. No, you are not.
I can feel your fatigue as if it were my own.
Zara looked at Dr. Winters. He needs at least 8 hours of uninterrupted rest. I suggest postponing any tests until tomorrow.
Dr. Winters nodded reluctantly.
Very well.
But you'll both need to submit to extensive medical and psychological evaluations.
This situation is completely unprecedented.
As the security team escorted them to temporary quarters, Marcus found himself walking beside an alien being who somehow felt more familiar than anyone he had known in years. Their mental connection hummed quietly in the background of his thoughts, a comforting presence that promised he would never truly be alone again.
Zara, he said as they reached his assigned room. Are you afraid? About what this bond means for us?
She paused, considering the question with the same careful attention she gave everything else.
Fear is not the right word. Uncertain, perhaps. But, also, hopeful. The universe is vast and, often cold, Marcus. Finding someone who truly understands you is rarer than discovering a new star. Whatever challenges we face, we will face them together. Marcus nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate through their connection. As he prepared for sleep, he realized that his life had just changed in ways he couldn't begin to imagine. But, for the first time in years, he was looking forward to tomorrow. In the adjoining room, Zara stood by the small viewport, gazing out at the stars. Through their bond, Marcus could feel her presence like a warm light in his mind. The loneliness that had haunted him for so long was gone, replaced by something infinitely more precious. A true connection with another soul, regardless of what species that soul happened to be. As sleep finally claimed him, Marcus's last thought was a simple one: perhaps the best discoveries really did happen when you least expected them. And, perhaps, sometimes, the most important thing you could find wasn't a new fact or theory, but someone who understood the person you truly were. The neural bond hummed softly between them as both beings found rest, their minds now permanently intertwined across the vast distances that separated their origins. Tomorrow would bring questions, tests, and challenges neither could foresee. But, tonight, for the first time in years, neither of them was truly alone. The stars outside continued their ancient dance, witnesses to the birth of something entirely new in the galaxy, a bond between species that transcended biology, culture, and the cold vastness of space itself. In a universe often defined by isolation and distance, two lonely souls had found each other against all odds. And, in the quantum realm where consciousness touched the fabric of reality itself, the universe took note of this new connection and found it good. 3 weeks after the awakening, Luna Station 3 had become the center of the most significant scientific breakthrough in human history. Researchers from across the solar system arrived daily to study the unprecedented neural bond between Marcus and Zara, but what they discovered challenged everything humanity thought they knew about consciousness and connection. Marcus stood in the observation deck, watching Earth rise over the lunar horizon. The sight no longer filled him with the same wonder it once had. Through his connection with Zara, he could see the planet as she did, a young world with incredible potential, but also dangerous in its unpredictability. "You are troubled," Zara said, joining him at the viewport. Even after weeks together, her presence in his mind still amazed him. He could feel her consciousness like a gentle current running alongside his own thoughts. "Dr. Winters wants to separate us," Marcus said without turning around. "She thinks the bond is affecting our judgment, making us too dependent on each other." Through their connection, he felt Zara's surprise followed quickly by understanding. She had sensed the growing tension among the research staff but hadn't realized how serious it had become. "They fear what they do not understand," Zara replied. "It is natural for your species. But, Marcus, you must know that separation is impossible now. Our neural pathways have become so intertwined that severing the connection would likely kill us both." Marcus felt a chill of fear, not for himself but for what this revelation might mean for their future. "Are you certain?" "I have been in contact with my people through quantum communication. The Veltar medical experts have never seen anything like our bond. Normally, our neural bridges are temporary precisely because permanent connections can be dangerous. But, what happened between us?" She paused, searching for the right words. "It appears that human neural plasticity combined with Veltar's psychic abilities has created something entirely new." Before Marcus could respond, his communicator chimed with an urgent message. Dr. Winter's voice crackled through the speaker, "All senior staff to the main conference room immediately. We have a situation." The conference room buzzed with tension when they arrived. Dr. Winters stood at the head of the table, her face grim. Around her sat representatives from Earth's major governments, military officials, and senior scientists. Marcus recognized Admiral Hayes from Earth Defense Command and Dr. Petrov from the Xenological Institute on Mars. "Thank you for coming," Dr. Winters began. "We've just received disturbing intelligence from our deep space monitoring stations. It appears that Dr. Chen and Zara's quantum communications with the Veltar Collective have been intercepted by another alien faction." Admiral Hayes activated a holographic display showing star charts with multiple red indicators. "These energy signatures appeared 3 days ago, moving in formation toward our solar system. Our analysis suggests a fleet of at least 50 vessels, all of unknown design.
Marcus felt Zara tense beside him, her usual calm composure cracking for the first time since her awakening. Through their bond, he experienced a flood of memory fragments, images of dark ships with predatory designs, the screams of her crewmates during their last moments, and overwhelming terror.
The Drathnor, Zara whispered, her voice barely audible. They found me.
Dr. Petrov leaned forward.
You know these beings?
Zara's hand found Marcus's arm, and he felt her drawing strength from their connection.
The Drathnor are a parasitic species.
They consume the life force of other beings to extend their own existence. My ship encountered them 6 months ago while conducting routine surveys.
They attacked without warning or provocation. Admiral Hayes's expression darkened. How powerful are they?
Their technology is roughly equivalent to ours, but their tactics are brutal. They do not seek territory or resources, they want living beings to feed upon.
If they have followed my psychic signature to this system.
Zara's voice trailed off, but her fear echoed clearly through the bond.
Marcus stood abruptly, his protective instincts flaring. Then, we fight them. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We can do it again. With what? Admiral Hayes demanded.
Our entire space defense fleet consists of maybe 20 ships, most of them patrol vessels.
These aliens have been traveling between stars for millennia.
Dr. Winters cleared her throat. Which is why we're considering other options. If we were to surrender Zara to them, perhaps they would leave Earth alone. The room erupted in heated arguments, but Marcus heard none of it. Through his bond with Zara, he felt her resignation and terrible sadness. She had already considered sacrificing herself to save his species, and the pain of that decision cut through him like a blade. No, Marcus said quietly, but his voice carried such intensity that the room fell silent.
We don't abandon people. That's not who we are.
Dr. Chen, you're emotionally compromised, Dr. Winters replied. This neural bond is affecting your judgment. Marcus looked around the room at faces filled with fear and uncertainty. These were brilliant people, but they were thinking like prey instead of predators. Humanity hadn't conquered its own planet and reached the stars by surrendering when faced with superior force.
You want to know what this bond has taught me?
Marcus said, his voice growing stronger. It's shown me that connection makes us stronger, not weaker.
Zara isn't just an individual, she's a link to an entire collective of peaceful explorers. If we save her, we gain allies.
If we surrender her, we prove that humanity can't be trusted when things get difficult. Zara squeezed his hand, and, through their connection, he felt her amazement at his fierce loyalty. In her centuries of life, no one had ever been willing to risk everything for her.
Admiral Hayes looked skeptical. Even if you're right about gaining allies, the Veltar are days away. The Drathnor fleet will be here within 36 hours.
What do you suggest we do?
Marcus felt an idea forming, sparked by something he sensed through his connection with Zara.
The neural bond that linked them wasn't just a passive connection, it was a conduit that could potentially carry much more than thoughts and emotions.
Zara, he said, turning to face her. The energy field that awakened you and created our bond, could it be replicated on a larger scale?
Her eyes widened as she followed his thinking.
You mean amplify the psychic resonance?
Marcus, the power requirements would be enormous, and the risks.
What risks? Dr. Winters demanded. Zara hesitated before answering.
If we could generate a field large enough to encompass multiple ships, it might be possible to create temporary neural bridges with their crews.
The psychological shock of sudden mental connection can be overwhelming for unprepared minds.
Dr. Petrov's eyebrows shot up.
You're talking about weaponizing psychic contact?
Not weaponizing, Marcus corrected. The Drathnor are parasites because they've forgotten how to form genuine connections with other beings.
If we could force them to experience real empathy, real emotional connection,
they would be unable to continue their predatory behavior, Zara finished. Marcus, this is brilliant but incredibly dangerous. The feedback through our bond could damage both our minds permanently.
Admiral Hayes was already working on his portable computer. How much power would you need?
All of it, Zara replied simply.
Every reactor on Luna Station, plus the power cores from any ships in the area.
And we would need to be at the center of the field to guide the psychic resonance. Dr. Winters shook her head firmly.
Absolutely not.
The risk to station personnel alone makes this plan unacceptable. Then, evacuate the station, Marcus said.
Send everyone to the far side of the moon except essential personnel.
This might be humanity's only chance to prove that we're worth saving instead of consuming. The debate that followed was intense but brief. Earth's government representatives conferred via encrypted channels while military officers calculated power requirements and evacuation schedules. In the end, the decision came down to a simple choice: certain death through surrender or possible survival through unprecedented cooperation.
Admiral Hayes closed his communicator with a decisive snap.
The Earth Defense Council has authorized Operation Neural Storm. Dr. Chen, Dr. Zara, you have 18 hours to prepare your psychic field before the Drathnor arrive. As the meeting broke up and people rushed to implement the plan, Marcus found himself alone with Zara in the empty conference room. Through their bond, he could feel her mixture of hope and terror at what they were about to attempt. There is something I must tell you, Zara said softly. If this plan works, if we succeed in creating neural bridges with the Drathnor fleet, the feedback will be intense. Our own bond will be tested beyond anything either of our species has ever experienced.
What are you saying?
The connection we share has become the core of who we both are now. If the psychic field overloads our neural pathways, we might lose ourselves completely.
Or we might become something entirely new.
Marcus considered this for a moment, then smiled.
You know what? I'm okay with that.
3 weeks ago, I was just a lonely scientist studying dead specimens. Now I have a partner who understands me better than I understand myself, and we're about to attempt something that could change the course of galactic history.
Zara's answering smile was radiant. When you put it that way, it does sound rather exciting.
Through their bond, Marcus felt her ancient weariness giving way to something he had never sensed from her before: genuine hope for the future. Whatever tomorrow brought, they would face it together. The next 18 hours passed in a blur of preparation.
Luna Station's corridors emptied as non-essential personnel evacuated to the far side of the moon. Engineers worked frantically to link every power source into a single massive grid, while Marcus and Zara spent their time in deep meditation, preparing their minds for what was to come.
As the Drathnor fleet approached the outer edge of Earth's solar system, Marcus stood in the center of a chamber that had been completely reconfigured into a psychic amplification array. Crystalline structures from Zara's damaged ship surrounded them, humming with contained energy. The alien technology interfaced seamlessly with human engineering, as if the two were always meant to work together. Fleet contact in 10 minutes, Admiral Hayes announced through the communicator. All stations report ready. Marcus looked at Zara, standing beside him in the eye of what would soon become a storm of pure consciousness. Her hand found his, and their neural bond sang with shared determination.
Whatever happens, Marcus said, I want you to know that meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me.
And you, my dear friend, have given me something I thought I had lost forever: the belief that different species can truly understand each other. The countdown began, and, with it, humanity's first attempt to prove that empathy could be more powerful than hunger, and that connection could triumph over consumption. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as two linked minds prepared to reach across the void and touch the consciousness of an entire alien fleet.
The age of isolation was ending.
The age of true galactic community was about to begin, forged in the crucible of desperate hope and unprecedented cooperation between two souls who had found each other against all odds. The Drathnor fleet emerged from hyperspace like a plague of dark metal insects, their biomechanical ships pulsing with sickly green energy.
50 vessels strong, they moved with predatory precision toward Earth's pale blue dot.
On Luna Station 3, Marcus and Zara stood hand in hand at the center of humanity's most desperate gamble. Energy field at maximum resonance, Dr. Winters announced through the communication system.
All power sources online and stable.
Marcus felt the psychic amplification array come alive around them. The crystalline structures from Zara's ship began to glow with increasing intensity, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with potential energy. Through his bond with Zara, he could sense the vast network of consciousness that was about to be unleashed.
Drathnor ships are decelerating, Admiral Hayes reported from Earth Defense Command.
They're taking standard attack formations. Range, 2 million kilometers and closing.
Zara's grip on Marcus's hand tightened.
Through their connection, he felt her reaching out with her consciousness, feeling for the alien minds approaching their system. What she found made her recoil in horror. "Marcus, they are so empty," she whispered.
Centuries of consuming other beings have hollowed out their capacity for genuine emotion.
They exist in a state of constant hunger because they have forgotten what it means to be truly fulfilled. "Then, we remind them," Marcus replied firmly.
"Ready?" Initiating neural field expansion, Zara announced.
The change was immediate and overwhelming. The psychic field erupted outward from Luna Station like an invisible wave, carrying with it the combined consciousness of both human and Veltar minds. Marcus felt his awareness expand exponentially as the field raced through space toward the approaching fleet. At first, there was only the cold void between worlds. Then, the field reached the outermost Drathnor vessels, and everything changed.
The first contact was like touching molten metal.
Marcus experienced a brief, searing glimpse into the alien minds, creatures that had once been explorers like Zara, but had fallen into a cycle of parasitic consumption that had consumed their souls along with their victims.
The psychic shock of sudden empathy hit the Drathnor crews like a tsunami of long-suppressed emotions.
Through the neural field, Marcus felt the confusion and panic rippling through the alien fleet. Beings who had not experienced genuine connection in millennia suddenly found themselves sharing thoughts and feelings with the very prey they had come to consume. "It's working!" Dr. Winters shouted over the increasing hum of the amplification array.
Drathnor ships are slowing their approach. Some are actually moving away from the main formation.
But the effort was taking its toll. Marcus felt his consciousness stretching to its limits as he helped channel the psychic field across millions of kilometers. Beside him, Zara was radiating strain through their bond as she guided the neural bridges with precision born of centuries of experience.
Then, the Drathnor fleet commander made a desperate decision. Multiple energy spikes detected. Admiral Hayes warned.
"They're charging weapons and preparing to fire on the station." Through the neural field, Marcus felt the alien commander's rage and terror at being forced to experience empathy. Rather than surrender to the connection, the creature was choosing to destroy its source, even if it meant damaging his own fleet in the process. "They cannot fire accurately while experiencing the psychic field," Zara said through gritted teeth. "But if they retreat beyond our range and then attack, then we go deeper," Marcus decided. "Zara, can you establish direct contact with their commander?"
"Marcus, no.
A direct neural bridge at this distance could burn out both our minds.
But it might be the only way to reach him. These beings aren't evil, they're addicted.
And sometimes the only way to break an addiction is to show someone what they've lost." Zara stared at him through eyes that reflected the swirling energies around them. Through their bond, he felt her weighing the risks against the potential for salvation, not just for humanity, but for the Drathnor themselves. "Together then," she said finally. "If we are to attempt this madness, we do it as one mind." They joined their consciousness more completely than ever before, becoming a single focused entity that reached across the void toward the Drathnor command ship. The neural bridge formed like a lightning bolt of pure thought, connecting three minds across impossible distances. The first sensation was overwhelming hunger, not for food or water, but for the life force that had sustained the Drathnor commander for over 800 years. Marcus experienced the creature's memories, once a proud explorer named Vethkar who had discovered dozens of new worlds, until his ship encountered an ancient Drathnor vessel whose crew had already fallen to parasitism. The infection spread like a disease of the soul. Vethkar watched helplessly as his crew began consuming the life force of captured beings, telling themselves it was temporary, just until they could find another solution. But the addiction grew stronger with each feeding, and genuine connection became impossible when every other being was seen as potential prey. Through the neural bridge, Marcus and Zara shared their own memories, the loneliness they had both endured, the joy of finding true connection, and the peace that came from understanding another consciousness completely. They showed Vethkar what he had lost and what he could regain. The alien commander's response was a psychic scream of anguish that reverberated through the neural field and touched every mind in both fleets. 8 centuries of suppressed grief, guilt, and self-hatred erupted from the depths of his consciousness like a dam bursting.
All Drathnor ships have stopped their attack approach, Admiral Hayes reported, his voice filled with amazement.
Energy signatures are fluctuating wildly across their entire fleet. Through the neural field, Marcus could feel the change spreading from ship to ship as the Drathnor crews experienced genuine emotion for the first time in centuries. Some were overwhelmed by guilt for their actions. Others wept with relief at remembering what it felt like to care about someone other than themselves. But Vethkar himself was fighting the connection with desperate fury.
I will not be weak again, his thoughts screamed across the bridge. Connection brings only pain and loss. It is better to be empty than to suffer.
No, Marcus replied, pouring every ounce of his own experience into the response. I lost my wife 3 years ago. The pain nearly destroyed me. But closing myself off from others didn't heal the wound, it just made it fester.
Real healing came when I found someone else to care about.
Zara added her own memories to the bridge, centuries of scholarly loneliness broken by a single moment of genuine connection.
Isolation is not strength, Vethkar.
It is the slow death of everything that makes consciousness worthwhile. The battle for Vethkar's soul raged across the neural field while both fleets watched in stunned silence. Marcus felt his own mind approaching its limits as he fought to maintain the bridge, but he refused to let go. This broken being represented countless others who had lost their way in the vastness of space, and if they could save even one. Suddenly, the alien commander's resistance crumbled. 800 years of accumulated pain and loneliness came pouring out in a flood of cathartic release. Through the neural bridge, Marcus felt Vethkar remembering his original crew not as victims, but as friends and colleagues whose trust he had betrayed. The weight of his crimes crashed down on him, but so did the possibility of redemption.
What have I become?
Vethkar's thoughts whispered across the bridge.
What have we all become?
You became lost, Zara replied gently. But lost does not mean gone forever. The capacity for connection still exists within you, we can feel it through this bridge. The question is whether you have the courage to reclaim it. The Drathnor commander was silent for long moments, and Marcus could feel him reaching out through the neural field to touch the minds of his own crew. What he found there surprised him. Beneath the layers of parasitic conditioning, many of them retained sparks of their original selves.
The hunger is so strong, Vethkar admitted. How do we break free of something that has defined us for so long? One connection at a time, Marcus answered. One choice to trust instead of consume. One decision to protect instead of prey upon.
It won't be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Through the bridge, Marcus felt Vethkar's resolve crystallizing. The alien commander began sending commands to his fleet, but not the orders anyone expected. All vessels stand down from attack positions, came the broadcast across all frequencies.
We are not here as conquerors.
We are here as beings seeking redemption. The neural field began to fluctuate as Marcus and Zara reached the absolute limits of their endurance. But they had achieved something unprecedented, the first peaceful first contact in recorded Drathnor history.
Dr. Chen. Dr. Zara.
Dr. Winter's voice was sharp with concern. Your neural activity is spiking beyond safe parameters. You need to shut down the field now. But Marcus could sense something else happening through the connection with Vethkar.
The Drathnor commander was making a decision that would change everything.
My people, Vethkar broadcast to both fleets, we have lived as parasites for too long. These humans and their Veltar friend have shown us what we lost when we chose hunger over harmony. I propose a new path, not as predators, but as partners in healing the damage we have caused. One by one, the ships of the Drathnor fleet began powering down their weapons. Some vessels broke formation entirely, their crews too overwhelmed by newfound emotions to continue military operations. Others maintained position but signaled their willingness to negotiate. As the immediate threat passed, Marcus and Zara finally allowed the psychic field to collapse. They fell to their knees in the center of the amplification array, their minds reeling from the effort of maintaining neural bridges across such vast distances. Status report, Marcus managed to say as Dr. Winters and her medical team rushed into the chamber. 43 Drathnor vessels have requested permission to enter Earth's solar system for peaceful negotiations, Admiral Hayes announced, his voice filled with wonder. 7 ships have departed the system entirely, their crews apparently too unstable to continue operating as a unit.
And their commander? Zara asked weakly.
Vethkar has requested a face-to-face meeting. He wants to discuss not just peace terms, but the possibility of his people joining some kind of galactic alliance for species recovery and rehabilitation. Marcus and Zara looked at each other, their neural bond humming with shared exhaustion and triumph. They had set out to save Earth from invasion, but had ended up offering salvation to an entire species that had lost its way among the stars. There's something else, Dr. Winters added as her medical scanners confirmed that both beings were stable.
We've been receiving quantum communications from across the galaxy.
Word of what happened here has spread to dozens of species. The Veltar Collective is sending a formal delegation, and at least 6 other species have requested permission to establish diplomatic contact with Earth.
Marcus smiled weakly. So we went from isolated backwater to galactic crossroads in the span of a single day?
It would appear so, Zara replied, her own exhaustion giving way to amazement.
Marcus, do you realize what we have accomplished?
Not just the prevention of invasion, but the proof that empathy and connection can overcome even the deepest forms of corruption and despair.
3 months later, Luna Station 3 had been expanded into humanity's first interstellar diplomatic facility.
The Drathnor rehabilitation fleet maintained a respectful distance while their former victims worked through centuries of trauma, but the progress was remarkable. Under the guidance of Veltar psychologists and human therapists, dozens of former parasites were rediscovering their capacity for genuine connection. Marcus stood in his new office, watching through the viewport as ships from 7 different species moved in careful coordination around the station. The sight still amazed him, organic Veltar vessels with their flowing curves, angular human craft bristling with efficient technology, and the slowly transforming Drathnor ships as their crews worked to remove predatory modifications and restore their original exploration capabilities. The Galactic Council is requesting our input on the establishment of permanent rehabilitation protocols, Zara said, entering the office with a datapad in hand. Their neural bond had stabilized into something comfortable and natural, allowing them to work together with unprecedented efficiency.
What do you think? Marcus asked. Ready to become the galaxy's official specialists in first contact therapy? Zara laughed, a sound that never failed to warm his heart through their connection.
After what we have accomplished here, I believe we are ready for anything the universe wishes to throw at us. Through their bond, Marcus felt her deep contentment with the life they had built together. The loneliness that had defined both their existences was now just a memory, replaced by purpose and partnership that neither had ever imagined possible. A communication chime interrupted his thoughts. Admiral Hayes appeared on the holographic display, his expression excited. Dr. Chen, Dr. Zara, we've just received a priority message from the outer system monitoring stations. Another unknown vessel has appeared at the edge of our space, but this one is different. It's massive, nearly the size of a moon, and it's broadcasting mathematical sequences that suggest peaceful intent.
Marcus and Zara exchanged glances, their bond humming with shared anticipation. Species? Marcus asked. Unknown.
The ship design doesn't match any database records, but the energy signatures suggest technology far beyond anything we've encountered so far. Zara smiled, her eyes sparkling with the same curiosity that had driven her to explore the galaxy for centuries. Well, my dear partner, it appears our work is far from finished. As they prepared to make first contact with yet another species, Marcus reflected on how much had changed since that fateful night when a power surge and spilled coffee had awakened his alien friend. He had gained not just a permanent companion, but a role in something far greater than himself, the ongoing effort to build bridges of understanding across the vast distances that separated conscious beings throughout the galaxy. The neural bond he shared with Zara was no longer unique. Guided by their example, other species were beginning to experiment with limited psychic connections during diplomatic negotiations.
The age of isolation was truly ending, replaced by an era of unprecedented cooperation and mutual understanding.
And, at the center of it all stood two beings who had found each other against impossible odds: a lonely human scientist and an ancient alien scholar, permanently linked by forces beyond their understanding but united by choice in their determination to prove that connection was stronger than consumption, empathy more powerful than hunger, and love more enduring than the cold emptiness between the stars. The universe was vast and often dangerous, but it was no longer quite so lonely. One neural bridge at a time, consciousness was reaching across the void to touch consciousness, creating a web of understanding that would transform the galaxy forever. Marcus squeezed Zara's hand as they prepared to greet their newest visitors, their bond singing with shared purpose and unshakable trust. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, as partners in the greatest adventure of all, the ongoing quest to prove that in a universe full of wonders, the greatest wonder of all was the connection between minds that chose to understand rather than fear each other. The stars continued their ancient dance overhead, but now they danced to the rhythm of countless hearts beating in harmony across the cosmic dark, united by bonds stronger than space itself and more permanent than time.